Yeah, actually, if you turn on the screen these two. All right.
Екатерина, можем начинать.
Okay. So we can start, I guess. We have all our speakers, our studio in Yakutsk, Sakha Media with us. And yes, so let's start our session. But first of all, of course, congratulations with the day of statehood of the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia today. This is a really big celebration in Yakutia right now. So we are really glad to start our session on entrepreneurship, sustainable technologies, and innovation ecosystems of the North. And we are really happy to meet here experts in sustainable technologies, economics, governmental structures for supporting youth, experts from academia and business. But first of all, a short technical information regarding to this session. The duration of this session will be for 2 hours. Every speaker has a time limit of 10 minutes. So I will notice by sending a sign by chat, I guess, when it's like 1 minute left. And after that, we will have some questions and discussion. Well, actually, maybe we will finish a little bit earlier because we got from technical support that it's like they will need some time to prepare for the next session. So let's start. And we would like to start our session with the topic of sustainable technologies and energy in the North. And we are honored to have a speaker from Canada, Robert Cook, and the co-lead of the Arctic Council's program ARENA, Arctic Remote Energy Networks Academy. He's a team leader of clean energy and infrastructure and the alternative and renewable technology advisor with Polar Knowledge Canada. He's also a project officer for Yukon College called Climate Innovation. And Robert?
Hi, thanks very much, Katrina. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm just going to hopefully share my screen. Okay, so hopefully the presentation is up there now. So as Katrina said, I'm Rob Cook. I'm the team leader with the Canadian federal government agency, Polar Knowledge Canada. And one of our main responsibilities is the operation and maintenance of the Canadian High Arctic Research Station in Cambridge Bay. And one of our priorities within that program is clean energy and infrastructure, and in particular helping remote northern communities get off diesel, reduce their diesel dependency for energy generation. Particularly in Nunavut, which is one of the territories in the Canadian North, we have 25 remote communities. Every community is off-grid, and every community has to barge in diesel for energy generation. So as you can imagine, it's exceptionally expensive and it's environmentally pretty damaging as well. As Katerina said, I'm in the north of Canada. I'm in Yukon in the north of Canada. So it's currently 4 a.m. here. So I apologize that it's a bit dark outside and my screen may not be the most visible, but hopefully everything will be okay. I would like to acknowledge that I'm speaking from the traditional territories of the Kwanlun Dun and the Carcross Tagish First Nations here in the Yukon. So as Ekaterina said, what we're going to talk about is an initiative which has been led by Canada, the USA and Iceland through the Arctic Council Sustainable Development Working Group, which is the Arctic Remote Energy Network Academy. The Academy itself is aimed at creating energy champions from remote communities across the Arctic. It's widely recognized that for a clean energy project to succeed in a remote northern community, it's much better if that project is initiated from within the community, and if the community owns that project and it wants that project. It's been accepted now that if, say, a company comes in from the south and they try and impose a project on a community, then there's more chance that that community could fail. What we see in Canada and Alaska is that in many remote communities, which are very small, they can have populations between of 1,500 to 2,000 people. There's often very little capacity. There's very little skills to actually develop those projects and build those projects. And so what ARENA aims at doing is bringing people from across the Arctic member states, from the remote communities, and actually bringing them together and trying to give them the skills and the background knowledge and the networks so that they can grow their own projects. And there's lifelong support to those participants as well to help those projects grow. So as I said, there's a lot of words on this particular slide, but what this is really trying to get across is that the ARENA project is a flagship project for the Arctic Council, and it's managed under the Sustainable Development Working Group. And in particular, their thematic priority of sustainable energy for remote communities. We staged the first course in 2017. Again, that was under the leadership of Canada, the USA and Iceland. We brought together 15 participants from across the Arctic. They first met in the Northwest Territories in Canada, in Yellowknife. They then moved on to Fairbanks, Alaska, Nome and Kotzebue, and then they completed the course in Reykjavik in Iceland. And we felt it was a very successful program. And so the Arctic Council provided a lot of support, and they want us to continue this program into the future. Our intention was that we would have a second course in 2020, and Ekaterina is one of our cohorts for the 2020 course. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we delayed the program and then had to cancel it at about 3 weeks ago. We finally had to pull the plug on the course for 2020. A lot of the course is dependent on going into remote communities. As I said, these communities are small and they can be susceptible to outside influences. And so we didn't want to go into the communities and bring in the possibility of introducing COVID. So we made the decision that we would cancel the course in 2020, but we've just moved it to 2021. So I'll talk in a bit about the actual cohort that we have, but everybody who was selected for 2020 has agreed to take part in the 2021 course. The course is managed by a steering committee, which is led up by the 3 technical leads, and I'm the technical lead for the Canadian program. And then we have the Alaska Center for Energy and Power, the technical leads for the USA, and the Geothermal Technical Training Program in Reykjavik, Iceland, are the technical leads for Iceland. We do have very strong Indigenous support as well. Gwich'in Council International, who are the international representative body for all of the Gwich'in people across North America, are our main spokespeople on the Sustainable Development Working Group. And we also have strong Indigenous support from the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat, which represents all Indigenous people across the North. So why did we set this program up? As I mentioned at the start, the remote communities all across the North, not just in Canada, but all across the North, where they have to bring in diesel fuel for energy generation, electricity and heat, then there's a really high cost of having to bring in that diesel energy. And that's not just the financial cost of having to ship in and barge in fuel, but there's also the environmental costs, firstly of shipping the fuel in, but then the environmental costs of trying to store diesel in a remote community. So we're very keen to try and introduce more clean energy projects into remote communities to get communities away from diesel. And obviously diesel generation also has a massive impact on climate change. And I think, all of us who live in the North know that, we're seeing climate change faster than anywhere else. It's now part of our everyday life here in the North. And so we want to do everything that we possibly can to reduce diesel dependency. What we have learned is that the best people to actually bring forward these projects and know which projects are best for a community are the people who live in the north. There's some amazing skill sets and some amazing people who live in the north, all across the Arctic. And so those are the people that we wanted to work with, and we wanted to help to actually reduce to bring in more clean energy projects. So these are the main objectives of the actual program itself, and you can see starting on the left-hand side, we wanted to build a cohort of energy champions, which is what I said at the very start, and international as well. We find huge similarities between how remote communities are in Alaska and how they are in the north of Canada. And we see, I think, very great similarities to our communities here to what's actually happening in the north of Russia as well. And so we think, there's a lot of best practice. There's things that we're doing in Canada, which we think, we can export that knowledge and share that across the Arctic, and the same with what you guys are doing in Russia and what's going on in Finland and, the other Scandinavian countries as well. There's a huge amount that we can actually learn. And so we want to, as I said, provide the participants with the knowledge and the skills, the project management skills, the technical skills to go back to their communities and bring these clean energy projects forward in their communities. And we'll also, as I said, provide mentorship as well. So every participant comes with a project. We look at their individual projects and we try and map them to a huge database of mentors that we have. So we can match the participants up with the best mentor for their project. For the 2021 course, it's very similar to what we put on in 2017. The cohort will meet in May of 2021 at Cambridge Bay in Nunavut in the High Arctic in Canada. They'll be based at the Canadian High Arctic Research Station. And from there, we'll have visits to Rankin Inlet and to Iqaluit. They'll then move to the United States in July into Fairbanks and then onto Kodiak Island. And their course should conclude in Iceland in 2021 in Reykjavik. The chair of the Arctic Council moves to Russia in May of next year, and Russia is very interested in continuing and being part of this program. So there is a small possibility at the moment that there may be an on-site program in Russia as well. And this is something that we're discussing as we go forward. The course will be a mixture of presentations. We'll bring in subject matter experts to give presentations, and we'll then go out to the remote communities to actually see projects in action. I'm aware of the fact that I'm running out of time. These are some of the topic areas. We're heavy on community and Indigenous engagement, building capacity in communities, but also, going through the resources such as geothermal, district heating, and obviously wind, solar, hydro, and biomass. The 2021 program, we have 18 individuals from from the USA, Canada, 3 from Russia and 3 from Greenland. Over half of the program are Indigenous. And as this final slide will show, we also have well over half of the course are female. So we have a fantastic Indigenous gender balance. And I hope it's going to be it will be a really exciting program. I'm looking forward to meeting the cohort in 2021. And that's my presentation. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Robert. I'm really honored to be a part of this, the RENA cohort. And thank you for accepting our invitation to participate in the conference. Okay, so our next speaker is Ratan Kumar.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Yes, project coordinator at the University of Vaasa in Finland for the research platforms focusing on energy, WEBIC, citizen science and innovation, InnoLab, and digitalization, digital economy. He also participated as a panel of European Space Week plenary session, Space Solutions for Sustainable Arctic. Ratan, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Katarina, for introducing me. So I'll just quickly go through my presentation. So let's see, whiteboard. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, today I'm just going to quickly talk about where I'm from, the University of Vasa in Finland, which is located on the west coast of Finland. And then one of the very interesting projects that I'm actually involved in. I work as a project coordinator, as Katarina introduced me. So, and then what we actually do in this project. The University of Vasa has 3 research platforms which concentrate on 3 different thematics or topics. So the first one is called WEBIC, Vasa Energy Business Innovation Center, which focuses mostly on the energy technologies and energy innovation. The second one is called InnoLab. It's called Innovation Lab. So it mostly deals with citizen science and innovation. And the third one is called Digital Economy, which deals with digitalization and digital technologies. So I work with all 3 of them because I have a background in engineering and also in economics. So that's what I'm working with. So today I'm going to present a project that we are working on from Digital Economy, which is called the Quark Space Center. So this is the name of the project, and it's funded by the EU, the European Commission, and it is in collaboration with partners from Sweden and also some in Norway as well. So just to give you a brief overview of how important digital infrastructure is and how important a role satellite play in this. So there's just like a very nice schematic of the digital infrastructure and what role the satellites play. And they really play an important role with Earth observation, Earth navigation, and also satellite communications, which are really, really important in this world. And so this is, the project is called Kvarken Space Center because we are a region called Kvarken. So we are on the west coast of Finland, and also there's a region on the east coast of Sweden, which has the Gulf of Bothnia in between. And this region is called the Kvarken region, and it's just like a few kilometers, few hundred kilometers down from the Arctic Circle. So this is the region of Kvarken, and they are similar in size, and there's a lot of collaboration between these 2 regions in projects and also a lot of other governmental initiatives as well. So the project consortium members consist of 10 university partners. These are ones which are listed from both from the Finnish side of the Kvarken region and also from the Swedish side of the Kvarken region. These are just the academic partners who are involved in some capacity in this project. And we also have a lot of companies from both Finland and Sweden, and also from other parts of the world, which are actually part of the project, which we have not listed here. So these are how they are divided into. So the stakeholders or the consortium partners are divided into the technology partners and then the business development and application partners, whom you see here, and they are divided based on the expertise that they actually bring into the project. So I'll quickly go into what the project is. So the main goal of the project is to develop a long-lasting innovation center that will form a base for the new space economy and the business activities in this region. So you might ask, like, what is new space? And actually, there's the time is really short for me to tell about what new space is, but it deals with all the space technologies which are used to develop, let's say, rapid and fast space solutions, like nanosats, CubeSats, things of this sort, and also like new technologies like SAR and other technologies. And what we also want to do through this project is to have this as a long-lasting center and to develop the competence here in this region, and also like up north from this region, and to have our own capacity to build satellites from here. So this is just a basic schematic of how old space was. Like, when you think about space, everybody thinks about rockets and satellites, which are big and bulky. Yes, it is a space also, but that's something called old space. But then on the right side, if you see like new space, which is, which is not that expensive to build. And also it's like really fast. It doesn't take 10, 12 years to build something. You just can build a satellite in 18 months with a very, very good functioning payload. So ISI is one of the very good examples of a Finnish company which are doing really well with medium-sized satellites that they have been launching into orbit for imaging purposes. So as I already mentioned a little bit of the goals. So here we just like also say like, what we want to do is to develop the expertise like local and international, but also one of the main objectives is to get the interest of the students, not just the university students, but also the interest of the students in schools, in the primary school, primary grade, and in the high school, to get them interested in these topics and to work with them. So as part of that, we are actually building a data portal and a ground station to demonstrate the capability and to show that we have the competence here in this region to build those. And also we are building a small CubeSat from here, which will be launched in 2022 from Kiruna. So these are basic things about how the CubeSat or the Cube satellite, like CubeSat is known as a short form of a Cube satellite, how it's going to be built and what are the different technical and some of the business parameters that go into this project, and also to build an ecosystem. So one of the main objectives like also is to build the ecosystem around the new space and the new space technologies. So these are like just listing out what we do in this project as part of the deliverables that need to be done by the end of 2022. So the project started in 2019, September, and it's a project for 3 years. And the idea is to have this whole ecosystem and the platform and the competence center built, and then also to have the satellite and the ground station ready by 2022. So this is just a small example of or a demonstration to show that there is also already a lot of free data available, which can be used, and that most people don't know. And one of the things in the project is to I think I'm running off time, but one of the things in the project is to inform the people and to make them aware that these things are possible. So startups, companies can use this freely available data, which is already there, and then come up with services or companies or added services to the existing ones to increase value, to add value. So I'll just quickly skip through. So this is what we want to do, like payload. There are payloads which are already being discussed, and then the payload definition or parameters have come from the region here and also in Sweden from the companies and also from the municipalities. And the aim is to launch from 2022 in Kiruna when the launching pad is ready there in Sweden. So yeah, these are things, and also to have one of the outcomes is to have a societal impact from this project. So as I already mentioned, we are going to educate the companies and schools, and also organize some hackathons and some learning cafes and challenges to go with it. So I think this is the project. If somebody is interested, you can actually go to the website to check what is happening. We update quite often about the project and what we do. So please have a look on the project, and this is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ratan. Really, really nice presentation. So our next topic is innovation ecosystems in the North, government, business, science, and youth support. And we're delighted to have here Haldor Johansson, Executive Director of Arc Data Limited Arctic Portal in Iceland, with a presentation about the Arctic business information systems, supporting the best practices and sustainability in policy, science, education, and innovation in the North. Haldor?
Thank you, Ekaterina. I hope you're all doing well. It's a big title, so obviously I would need to have all day to go through that in a proper way, but I'll do my best, and I hope you can see my screen if I share it to you. Are you seeing it now? Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so Arctic business information systems. Why do we need such a thing, and how can that support our existence and lead to a better future for our youth and our people? If we now technology, of course, isn't working properly. Here we go. The interest in the Arctic is increasing. We're of course in strange times today with COVID, but 2 summers ago, I took this picture in my own hometown with 4 huge cruise ships and more than 10,000 tourists in our small community. And of course, the big interest in the Arctic leads to opportunities, but there are obviously a lot of threats as well. And the big question is this actually benefiting the people that are living in the region? And how can we then adapt to it? And then secondly, do we have the infrastructure in place to support such activities? And unfortunately, we don't. We are leading hopefully towards it, but we don't at the moment. So what are the new challenges? Interest and awareness about the Arctic in a global context is increasing. And that's because of economic opportunities, it's because of the environment and the global change, and it's also geopolitics increasingly, some call the race for the Arctic. This, of course, is a very important issue for our future generations. How will the current generation play this game they're playing right now? So the Arctic is believed to possess maybe as much as 30% of the unused resources of the world. So of course there are huge economic opportunities, and these opportunities can also, if played well, lead to better existence for those living in the Arctic. I personally see a lot of opportunities, of course, in the shipping and the tourism. And as I said, the opportunities and threats can be dealt with if we have a good knowledge base. So we need to increase our knowledge. And this has to be for the benefit of those living in the area. We have pretty good governance. We have the Arctic Council already in place, as probably most of you know. The Arctic Council consists of the Arctic 8 countries, and then there are many observers, both countries and organizations. Countries, the European countries, and even as far as India are showing an increased interest in the Arctic, which is good, of course. We have new regulations by the Arctic Council, which are very important. We have also international regulations like the IMO Polar Code. We have initiatives driven by the Arctic Council like Sessia on sustaining Arctic observation networks and Arctic Data Committee that are trying to help us share the knowledge in a way that we can all understand and we can use for the future benefits. Because when we're talking about climate change, if we don't know what happened 40 years ago, we can't assess what's going on today, right? So we have to have the base of information to be able to compare and to able to learn and continue. So we have these events like the Science Ministerial. Science Ministerial was first held in Washington 4 years ago. And this was an event where the science ministers of the Arctic countries plus other countries, in all actually 27 ministers showed up, which shows the interest to the Arctic. And we are increasingly learning that what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic, as some say, and the Arctic, of course, is of global relevance. This is both because of the resources and also, of course, because of the climate change and the changes in the weather patterns. So there's a recognition of a need of sound data services and have data to support policy and responsible development in our region. And another issue that has been increasingly coming up is that we need funding, because as most young people realize today with the technical changes, there's a lot of opportunities for innovation, but all of that needs funding to be able to grow in a sustainable way. I know in Yakutsk there are new IT companies that are developing in an international context, and that's great, and that shows us the opportunities that we have. But none of it happens without forward thinking, good base of education, and a bit of money. So let's just quickly go through what is the Arctic. We have Arctic definitions vary actually between countries and also between topics, as you can say it. So we have the Arctic Circle, of course, the blue circle there in the center. But then we have other definitions like the 10-degree definition, plus many of the definitions of the Arctic Council. So as you can see, it varies quite a lot. But in most of them, and all of them actually, Iceland is included, but as you can see, for example, Saka is not included in all of them, as strange as that may sound. So we have different variations of Arctic definition. So in my view, we should, of course, use the term Northern much more than Arctic. So let's use the Northern like in the Northern Forum, because the Northern is much more appropriate than Arctic. We have search and rescue. As you can see, the Arctic has been split up between the countries to help us monitor and support development, which is well. We have ice in the Arctic, and those of you that were listening this morning may have heard Professor Lasse Heinonen mention that recently NSIDC measured the sea ice in the Arctic, and it seems to be the second lowest in history, which of course is scary, and it's gone down to about 3.7 million square kilometers. And the other, of course, very important component in all of that, it's getting thinner all the time. So the mass is reducing a lot. And this can have an effect on all of us, and I'll show you a slide a little bit later on that. Permafrost, that's another thing. And those of you living in Saka, of course, know the permafrost and what's happening to the permafrost. There's a lot of unknown issues about the permafrost. I've been involved in measuring permafrost from the technical part. That is, we host a database for the global terrestrial network of permafrost. And that, of course, shows you the wonders of technology, that we can host that in Akureyri in Iceland, and the research is going on in Alaska and in Siberia, etc. And we put it all together in one place, accessible to all. But as you can see from the image, the permafrost extends way beyond the so-called Arctic definition, and this is a potential threat that we have to be very well aware of. It may affect our life. And then, of course, we have Arctic people and peoples. So yeah, calculation is about 4 million people living in the so-called Arctic. If we look at the north, we're of course many more people living in the northern region. I always say that I live in the north by choice. It's a privilege to live in the north. And I think there's a lot of opportunities that we have to protect for our coming generation. But at the same time, I think we have to be aware that interest in our region for actually moving into our region will increase a lot in the years to come, in the decades to come. So we have to take good care of our own area. If we don't do it, nobody will do it. So we have the variety of people, and that's what a lot of people from outside the north don't realize, is that how many differences we have, both in our people and also in our environment. And we have to be good at promoting the differences in a good way. So why is this international interest? That's also very important to realize. I mentioned the resources in the Arctic. There's investment opportunities, of course, related to that. There's new shipping routes opening up, and the developments, for example, in Yamal are probably going to move that development further forward. A new icebreaker was just really launched last week, and there's of course the security issues. I'm not talking about the geopolitics, but security in terms of having shipping routes in a global context, because a lot of the import and export in Malacca Strait, if that is influenced, then there will be changes, and of course the climate change issues. I'm running out of time, but I just want to show you this interesting graph. Things may be changing. This is the weather in Iceland last year, and our main international airport was actually closed more often than ever before because of high winds. And this is a pattern that is alarming because it can happen very quickly, very swiftly, and it is troubling not just for ourselves living here, but also, of course, in terms of tourism. And there's been more accidents and more trouble related to weather patterns than ever before. So this is an issue that we have to be very well aware of. Very quickly at the end, in cooperation with the Northern Forum, we're working on something called the Arctic Business Directory. And the goal of that project is to advance responsible resource, infrastructure, and economic development in our region, to identify our competitive advantage and strengthen our advantage. And by compiling a business directory and providing tools for our communication and increased communication, highlight the expertise, etc., we believe that we can strengthen our region tremendously. And at the same time, we want to strengthen the Northern Forum and help this Arctic and global development and policy shaping process. I will stop there. I won't go through all of that because I'm out of time, but I just want to show you cooperation leads to win-win results. I've had the pleasure of both welcoming young students from Russia to Iceland. I've been mentoring in Korea with students from around the Arctic, and I've been working on initiatives like the China-Nordic cooperation. Cooperation only leads to success, and I encourage open discussions, and we use the technology that we have to break down the barriers and basically take away the blinders that often affect development in a negative way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haldor. Okay, so now our studio in Yakutsk, Samedia. We have a guest in Yakutsk from Moscow, Alexander Vorotnikov. He holds a PhD. He's an associate professor of Department of Public Administration and Public Policy of the Russian Presidential Academy of National Economy and Social Sciences. He's a coordinator of the Expert Council of the PORA, Project Office for the Development of the Arctic, and he's the Russian Federation Council's member assistant. So please, the floor is yours, Alexander.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Я хочу поблагодарить организаторов, что они предоставили возможность здесь выступить. И я хочу рассказать свою небольшую презентацию о том, так как у нас тема сегодня бизнес, предпринимательство в арктической зоне, что вообще правительство планирует в настоящий момент делать в арктической зоне и как оно собирается вообще привлекать туда предпринимателей, бизнес. И вот такую возможность схемы этого я хочу показать. Тем более, в общем-то, я много преподаю. У меня достаточно большое количество студентов в Академии госслужбы. Это вот 2-й, 4-й курс. Я их все время называю дети. Вот я своим детям пытаюсь объяснить, а что мы собираемся делать в Арктике и как мы собираемся это делать. Вот на этом слайде показано, что, в общем-то, у нас в Арктике очень большие проблемы. И самое главное, очень хорошо, что правительство это понимает прекрасно, оценивает ситуацию в арктической зоне России очень трезво, понимает, в общем-то, те проблемы, которые стоят, и показывает, да, что ситуация в Арктике гораздо хуже с населением, социальной сферой, с транспортной сферой, чем в целом в России. И задача сформулирована президентом Российской Федерации, что уровень жизни в арктической зоне должен быть не хуже, а может быть даже лучше, чем в центральной России, чем в регионах ее, да, то есть то, что называется на простом языке на материке. И, в общем-то, самое главное, вот здесь на этом слайде показано, что это государство пытается сделать именно взаимодействием с частным бизнесом, с теми корпорациями, которые работают в Арктике. И, в общем-то, понятно, у нас не лекция, я не могу вам долго все рассказывать. Я просто остановлюсь на тех схемах, которые, в принципе, государство будет реализовывать в ближайшем будущем. В общем-то, основная модель взаимодействия бизнеса, она с государством, она прописана в нашем российском законодательстве. Это государственно-частное партнерство, или как по-английски называется PPP. Вот у нас есть два закона. Я участвовал в разработке обоих законов, в общем-то, и по конституционным соглашениям, и по закону о государственно-частном партнерстве. Вот на этой схеме представлено, на этом рисунке, вот, как вообще выглядит взаимодействие и его участники. Здесь участвует частный бизнес, здесь участвуют банки, здесь участвует территория, да, скажем, государство. Это, я называю государство здесь все, то есть это федеральная власть, региональная власть и муниципальная власть, да, чтобы там многое не говорить, просто называют это все государством. Вот на этой схеме вообще вот схема проекта ГЧП, она классическая, то есть, в принципе, ничего сложного нет, и во многом это в России реализуется. Проблема основная в чем? В России четко сейчас отсутствуют в регионах компетентные кадры, которые могут этим заниматься. То есть, понимаете, вот сложилась такая ситуация, что еще несколько лет назад я вот работал в центре ГЧП Внешэкономбанка, и вот тогда уделялось огромное внимание образованию в этой сфере, учились регионы, учились чиновники. На сегодняшний день во многих регионах Арктической зоны компетенция чиновников по ГЧП, она равна нулю. То есть чиновники понимают, что такое государственно-частное партнерство, меньше, чем бизнес. И вот это основная проблема. Чиновники боятся государственно-частного партнерства, чиновники не знают, как его сделать. И когда бизнес не приходит с предложением ГЧП, чиновники очень часто отказывают. Кстати, вот здесь вот на этом слайде даны преимущества, да, вот схема государственно-частного партнерства и концессии. Самое главное, что имущество, которое есть, оно остается у государства. То есть государство это имущество не теряет. И вот эта схема очень важна, вот здесь как раз этот слайд, скажем, одна из проблем Арктики – это экология, она очень важна в экологической сфере. Создание экотехнопарков. Первый экотехнопарк в арктической зоне создан в Мурманской области, который и мусором занимается, и даже начал заниматься переработкой мусора. Еще один важный момент, вот здесь показано, да, вот я и хотел сказать, развитие арктического туризма. Вот на мой взгляд, развитие арктического туризма в первую очередь связано с использованием территорий, особо охраняемых природных территорий. Если посмотреть статистику, особо охраняемые природные территории регионального подчинения занимают практически 90% площади самих особо охраняемых природных территорий. И что важно, что, в общем, на этих территориях действует региональное законодательство, а не федеральное. И вполне территории могут использовать ресурс особо охраняемых природных территорий как экономический ресурс для развития экономики своих регионов. Это возможно сделать, но мы здесь сталкиваемся с чем? Мы сталкиваемся с косностью здесь федерального центра. В каком смысле самого центра? Что чиновники, которые от Минприроды, они не понимают вообще возможности ГЧП, как его можно использовать. То есть вот ровно такая же проблема, что некомпетентность и необразованность федеральных чиновников. Если же этот процесс будет, проект будет реализован, и правильно будет реализован, то вообще, в принципе, от этого будет достаточно большая польза для экономики регионов. Я не знаю, вы знаете об этом или не знаете, в Якутии должны знать. Недавно был проведен конкурс, связанный с созданием туристско-рекреационных кластеров с использованием особо охраняемых природных территорий. И, кстати, 5 регионов из арктической зоны этот конкурс выиграло, и в том числе это попадает туда Ленский кластер с ленскими столбами. Кроме того, там еще и присутствует и Республика Коми, Республика Карелия, ну и так далее. Ну, еще дальше вот я хочу пойти. Вот смотрите, вот сейчас этот слайд. Сейчас очень большое внимание государство уделяет добыче, разработке природных ископаемых. И вот здесь, вот на этом слайде, как раз показаны те возможности, которые существуют у государства в этой области. Для Якутии это вообще очень перспективное направление. Я считаю, в ближайшее время экономика Якутии, используя ГЧП, очень сильно продвинется в развитии своих минерально-сырьевых центров. Поэтому я хочу пожелать всем участникам сегодняшнего мероприятия понимания, как нужно развивать арктическую зону. И, в общем-то, наш центр «Пора» готов в этом помочь. Мы выдаем гранты, если кому-то интересно, то вот через Савину связывайтесь, и в этой теме мы вам поможем. Благодарю за внимание.
Спасибо большое, Александр. Thank you very much. Okay, so we continue the topic of the interaction between government, science, and youth. And our next speaker is Gunnar Gunnarsson from Iceland. He's a project manager at the Northern Research Forum at the University of Akureyri and organizer of the Agents for the New North, a project which has been awarded funding through the Nordic Council of Ministers Arctic Cooperation Program. He will present the best practices from the North Atlantic on cultivating economic growth among young people. Gunnar?
Thank you, Добрый день, and congratulations with the Statehood Day. I'm going to share my screen, so let's see. Well, it's, I'm not getting access now.
I think I had the same, Gunnar. I think you have to just click on show all tabs. So I think if there are like many tabs open, there is like a small, when you share a screen.
All right.
Show all tabs, click on that, and then you'll see all the tabs which are open. And then you can select the file which you want to share.
All right. There it is. Thank you.
Right.
And there, can everybody see that?
Yes, we do.
That's fantastic.
Perfectly.
So yes, my name is Gunnar Gunnarsson. I'm with the Northern Research Forum. At the University of Akureyri, I should add, Akureyri is a small city in the northern Iceland, and arguably the Arctic capital of Iceland, hosting not only the International Arctic Science Committee, but also the secretaries of CAF and PAIM, the two working groups of the Arctic Council. And the topic of my presentation is how to cultivate economic growth among young people, youth programs and best practices from the North Atlantic. Now, the Northern Research Forum, or NRF for short, does not organize youth programs as such. It is essentially a think tank that seeks to bring together a range of stakeholders from the civil society, from politics, from business, local communities, and of course, members from the academic community. We try to bring them together to share their knowledge and expertise. So what I'm really, I have to say, going to talk about is how a body like the NRF can do, how it can do its part in encouraging young people to become agents of change in sustainable community development, as we all want them to become. But of course, the first condition for such a body is obviously to be interested in young people, and that we are. Every year we organize an early career sessions for young researchers at the Arctic Circle Assembly. This is the 2018 lineup, featuring here my good friend Stas. He's a native Saka and a senior researcher now, I believe, in Yakutsk. And we also, NRF also acted as the local organizer for this year's Model Arctic Council, which was held online due to the pandemic. The MAC, for short, will, I believe, be held in Russia next year, as it follows the chairmanship of the Arctic Council. And as Katarina mentioned, NRF is also the coordinator for the Agents for the New North. That's a project that recently received a generous support by the Nordic Council of Ministers, and we're very grateful for that. The core objective of the project is to facilitate student and other youth participation at the UArctic Congress in 2020, or sorry, 2021 now, postponed due to the pandemic. And it's organized in partnership with the Arctic Council chairmanship, the Icelandic chairmanship. And we are working closely with organizations such as the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists, the Sami Education Institute, and the Arctic Youth Network. And we will be initiating more youth-focused projects in the coming months, not least because the Foreign Ministry of Iceland recently signed an agreement with the NRF and the University of Akureyri, providing us with funding of approximately 300,000 euros for supporting special projects that tie with the priorities of the Icelandic chairmanship of the Arctic Council. And bolstering Arctic youth is one of those priorities. So we'll be seeing some projects in the upcoming months. So that was the background of what we are trying to do. But I promised examples of best practices from the North Atlantic. One such practice, I think, is the Icelandic Fishery School. It's a summer school program for 14-year-old students hosted by the University of Akureyri, and is now also being considered by the University of Tromsø as something to replicate. And the integrity of this initiative lies in the all-inclusive philosophy behind it. The school is a collaborative project between the University of Akureyri, the municipalities, and some of the major fishing operators in Iceland. So the fishery school is a part of a broader work training camp of the municipalities. So the kids, they get paid wages during their participation. And the University of Akureyri provides young researchers from its fishery science program, and they get their salaries from the fishing operators. So it's both a summer job for them and an excellent training. So it's not just the youth doing the program, it's also the youth teaching them. And one could say that for our young researchers, it also strengthens their ties with the industry, which provide all necessary facilities. And the fishery school has locations all around the country, and next year they'll be expanding their activities into aquaculture as well. And it's not just the traditional side of fishing that is being introduced to the kids. Most of them don't need much introduction of that, but it's first and foremost the innovations for fisheries development that they learn about, and the processes of value creation. And here you can see some of those kids with their diplomas. And I have no doubt that many of them will have left the program with a strengthened belief in their local industry, which still remains one of the economically the most important industries in Iceland, and a truly forward-looking outlook when it comes to their local industry. And as I mentioned, this model is now being considered in northern Norway, and that's no coincidence. In 2018, the NRF worked with the Norwegian embassy in Iceland to bring the two universities together for a one-day conference, and that resulted in an MOU between them. So that was a very important boost for their collaboration. And to finish this, I'm trying my best to keep the time. I'm hoping I'm successful. Only 3 slides left. We're also trying to export or import best practices from other northern countries. So we're not just trying to export good ideas from Iceland. And this project here is in its early phase, so it hasn't really been launched. It's just a hopeful stage for me, but we have most of the funding in place. And if the project is realized, the Arctic Youth Exchange, Sermesok and Akureyri, 2021, that is, will be organized between Icelandic and Greenlandic partners, Greenland being our closest neighbor. And there will be a series of creativity and entrepreneurial workshops for kids of 16 to 18-year-old kids. So I'm extremely hopeful that we can make this happen, because there are so many programs now in Greenland I think could be sort of mirrored or replicated in Iceland. You know, broad scale from creative projects such as those hosted by the Nordic Institute in Greenland, to a great pilot program, Mind Your Own Business, which helps young males to design and produce their own innovation project, and then to market the projects and sell them. And if we manage to make this happen with Greenland, the main beneficiaries of the Arctic Youth Exchange would of course be the kids, in what they learn from the workshops and what they learn from each other. But that's not to say that the learning experience will be limited to the kids, because I'm absolutely certain that the Greenlandic and the Icelandic partners will learn a lot from one another. And again, it's no coincidence that we are looking towards Greenland now. In 2019, the NRF and the Greenlandic representation organized together a seminar that brought high-level policymakers from Iceland and Greenland, researchers, business leaders, developers, and innovators, all working in northern societies with economic and social development. So I think that really, if I try to summarize, that is one way we can cultivate economic growth among young people. We can come together as partners. We can share our best practices like we're doing right now with one another. And of course, if at all possible, we should bring the youth together to promote mutual friendship and understanding, to broaden their international perspective, and to foster the spirit of international cooperation. And finally, to develop their ability to put those principles into action. And we should also encourage them to, or that is, we should encourage their social contribution, and we should develop the skills for civic engagement by giving them the knowledge and the skills to navigate their own local issues. So coming from the international to the local, I think that bridge is important. So I'll close with that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Tack för det, Gunnar. Right. So building innovation ecosystems should be made a priority in the North, and we are glad that Yakutia is becoming the leader in the export of IT services in the Russian Far East. Our next speaker, Vasily Yefimov, Director of Yakutia Innovation Development Fund, will tell about the innovation ecosystem of Yakutia and the Yakutia team implementation plan set during the program at MIT. Please, the floor is yours. Vasily.
Thank you, Ekaterina. My name is Vasily. I'm a Director of Innovation Development Fund of Yakutia. And before moving forward, I would like to thank all the speakers that spoke before me. It's Robert from Yukon, who woke up, I guess, at 3:30 a.m. That's what you call motivation. And we're really open for partnerships, and I hope that we will get access to the database of mentors that you mentioned. And Ratan, I never heard of new space before, because to me, old space is still like a high level and high tech. And now you're already talking about new space technologies. And Holder, I really agree with you. I 100% support you when you mentioned that living in the north is a privilege. Of course, there are lots of challenges, like Alexander mentioned, but even though I graduated university in Ireland and started my career in Moscow, I still came back to Yakutsk because I see lots of opportunities, and we can collectively create a great impact in our region. And also, Gunnar, I actually heard about your project, a project from Iceland, the fishery school, which is a great example of how you can create innovation based on your comparative advantage, because a lot of people know that Iceland is Iceland's economy is mainly about fishing industry, and it's a great thing that you share with the world with your innovations in this area. And I would like to say a few words about Yakutia. It's, as many of you know, it's the largest part of Russia. The territory is more than 3 million square kilometers, but the population is quite low. There are less than 1 million people living here, and our GDP is around $16 billion, and it's mainly consists of mining industry and energy. So we're rich of oil, gas, but also there are companies like Mytona and InDriver who are in IT industry. Mytona is a game development company which is privately owned. Now they hire over 1,000 people around the world, and most of the staff they live and work in Yakutia. And there's also InDriver, which is a ride-hailing app, and they compete globally with such companies like Uber, and they're pretty successful in it. And even though the pandemic it was a challenge for them, it still is, but still I think they will overcome it and will get stronger. So that is why we based our strategy, in terms of innovation development, on IT technology, because there are great opportunities in employment in the long term. Also, there are opportunities in taxes, and also in higher standards of living, because these two companies, they're privately owned, and this average salaries is higher than ecosystems through evidence-based approach and stakeholder model. And each of these individuals represented a particular stakeholder. For example, at that time I was deputy CEO of venture company in Yakutia, and I represented risk capital stakeholder. The model is represented on the left side of the slide. And on the right side of the slide, you can see the key stakeholders, organizations that are involved in developing Yakutia innovation ecosystem. I think we're one of few regions in Russia that has its own Ministry of Innovation, maybe the only one, I'm not quite sure. Also, we have a venture company, Yakutia, which is a seed capital provider to startups. There is Innovation Development Fund. I will talk about it more a little bit. Its main focus is pre-seed stage of startups. There is AEB. It's a regional bank, one of a few regional banks that not only invests in traditional businesses, but also to innovation-driven businesses as well. And also there is Technopark Yakutia that provides infrastructural and non-financial support to startups. And okay, so like I said, there's MIT RIP approach is evidence-based approach. And that's why one of our assignments was to measure the state of development of our innovation ecosystem. That's why we collected data to get dozens of metrics, which are grouped into two categories, ICAP and ECAP, which stands for innovation capacity and entrepreneurial capacity. Each of these categories is divided into 5 parts. These are human capital, funding, infrastructure, demand, and cultural incentives. Well, because the time is limited, I will focus more on cultures and incentives, but before going forward, I would like to mention what Halder said, that in order to develop innovation, it's not only about talent, it's also about funding. And what we found out, well, it was quite obvious, but we never calculated it, we never measured it. There is a lack of access to venture capital, especially in very early stages, like pre-seed stages, the standard 3 Fs, friends, family, and fools, is not really developed in Yakutia and maybe in other Arctic regions as well. Funding was a big issue for us. So going forward to cultures and incentives, I would like to share with you a few metrics. We made a survey of more than 2,000 people, 50% men, 50% women, and we asked them, one of the questions was, do you plan to start your own business within the next 3 years, and rather than work for someone else? And 54% of the respondents said yes. And on the right-hand side, you can see the median of OECD countries. So we can conclude that the entrepreneurial intent is pretty high. And also, one of the amazing things that we discovered is the attitudes towards entrepreneurial risks. So we asked men and women, are you willing to start your own business rather than work for somebody else? And more than 80%, they replied yes. But one of the interesting findings is that even though these people are willing to take risk and they want to start their own business, they think that successful entrepreneurs, they don't have high status in their region. Only 34% said that yes. Maybe it's a cultural issue, or this is something that we have to make more research on. Like I said, there was low level of access to capital, to funding, and also, but there was quite high entrepreneurial intent. And that's why together with Technopark, we've established Innovation Development Fund, which is a non-for-profit organization. And it's like a backbone organization of our innovation ecosystem. We mainly focus on pre-seed startups, and we implement different programs. And one of them, the key program is that we started from is our acceleration program, which is focused purely on IT startups. It's a 3-month program. We provide mentorship, we provide expertise, and also we provide finance up to $30,000. We started our program in April 2019. You can see from the slide that even though we already operate for 2 years, the interest in our program is pretty high. So we've invested, I think, in more than 27 startups. We already had 3 batches, and a couple of weeks ago, we started batch 4. And on this slide, you can see a few examples of our startup that we invested in. I will mention a couple of them. Run with Zippy. It's a fitness tracker, but it's not just a fitness tracker. Many of you probably remember such a toy like a Tamagotchi. Basically, this cat called Zippy, it lives as long as you run. And from batch 2, we have a company that actually benefited from the pandemic, GoGo Courier. They specialize in delivering goods and goods. And during the pandemic, their revenue increased twice. Also, in batch 3, we have a startup called Eiger. It's basically like Wix that helps you to create a website, but it is enhanced by artificial intelligence. And Eiger is actually the first startup outside of Yakutia that we have invested in. The founder is from Vladivostok, and he moved with his family to Yakutsk and joined us for 3 months. But he and his family managed to come to Yakutsk before the pandemic, but we went online anyway. But he could have actually, he could have joined us online, but still he made it to Yakutsk, and he was pretty happy. And another project, the headline project that we launched last year, is called Startup Expedition. We've visited every single capital city of Far Eastern region of Russia. Our main aim was to find new startup that we could invest in, but also we were joined by Skolkovo and Far Eastern High Tech Fund, who traveled the whole forested region with us, who shared their expertise and gave feedback to startups in the capitals. So, like I said in the beginning, we're really open for a collaboration. We can do some kind of a collective research on our innovation ecosystem, I mean, in Arctic regions. We can expand the startup expedition to other regions as well. Maybe we could do it collectively, maybe next year. Actually, this year in 2020, the startup expedition, it's focused in Russia. I mean, last year it was only Far-Eastern region of Russia, and this year we covered the whole Russia. Also, we could do some joint acceleration programs. Maybe, for example, climate change is a big issue for us. Maybe there are some startups and solutions that they can solve our problems. So I hope that next year we'll have much more logos on this slide, and probably companies and organizations from the Arctic region will join us as well. Thank you very much. So you can see my email. Please email me if you have any questions, or we can talk after the presentation. Thank you.
Спасибо, Василий. Thank you. We agree that the North has a potential in talented young people, and we have a lot of opportunities to grow our own successful technology entrepreneurs. And about the development of innovation and youth technological entrepreneurship in the North, will tell our next speaker, Anisia Lazareva, Director of Student Business Incubator Orech of the Northeastern Federal University. Anisia?
Thank you, Ekaterina. Nice to meet you. Yes, I'm here representing our Northeastern Federal University, and I want to tell you about the innovative and technological entrepreneurship that is held in our university, and that what we are doing with our partners in the region. First, I want to say a few words about our university. It's the biggest university in the northeastern part of Russia. We have more than 17,000 students, and I think it's safe to say that we are the biggest power to prepare our future workforce, like for many years. Our university is operating for many years, and we have like a very big expertise in preparing specialists and professionals in different fields. So let's go further. On the state level, and the regional level, in the Republic, we have the view of how our Republic should develop, like what we have to do, what we have to reach by 2032. So like 2 years ago, we had the 42nd place by innovative development in Russia, and 2nd place by innovative development in the Far East. And by 2024, we should become leader in digital innovation in Russia. We should double the number of our tech companies from the number that we had in 2017, and also we should like increase investments in our IT sector by 1 billion rubles. And we should work in the directory that that the digital technologies should become the main part of every aspect of people's everyday life here. And by 2032, we should become a leader in development of creative economy and human capital. So we are looking forward to do more like creative industries, to work more on intellectual property, and to we are like, you know, we have very successful cases of startups who became really big on the global area, and that motivates people a lot. So many young people also like see good opportunities in the future for them in the field of innovative and technological entrepreneurship. So our university has a goal to help them. So in Russia, the third missions of universities should become the transformation of universities to give students more entrepreneurial skills. So by the time as they graduate, our goal is to give to all our students entrepreneurial skills. So they all have to become not like entrepreneurs, right? But they have to understand how entrepreneurship works, so they can implement their knowledge in their work, like in the different fields. Maybe they will work in government, maybe they will work in the social area, maybe they will work in something, they will do something else, right? But understanding how market works, how like entrepreneurship works, will be very important for them. This project we are doing together with our partner. It's Corporation of Yakutia Development, and I will tell you further about our project that we are doing with them. The student entrepreneurship ecosystem in our university is developing, and the main, I would say, the biggest and maybe one of the important part of it is our business incubator. Our business incubator is called OREH. It means, it has two meanings. First, it's an abbreviation. It says Open and Research Effective Horizons. And the second is from the Pushkin, the famous Russian writer and poetry writer. So he has a really good famous story about the magic hazelnuts that are not just simple hazelnuts. They consist of diamonds and any jewels. So we see our residents as some, very important jewels for us, and we will help these hazelnuts to turn into grown, strong trees. So this is our agenda. Our goal is to help students open successful businesses that are founded and developed by them. And we provide, as incubators around the world do, we provide them many services to support them in the beginning, right? Because young people, they mostly wouldn't have opportunity to pay the rent, to hire many employees, to even just, to buy a computer. So we will try to help them. And we have quite good statistics and quite good achievements. We became one of the best youth business incubators in 2016, #1, and we were in the top 10 of grown-up business incubators in Russia in 2017. Also, last year I did a fellowship in MIT, and after the successful completion of it, I was given a permission from the professor Bill Olet to bring some MIT courses in entrepreneurship here from MIT to here to Yakutia in Yakutsk to implement them in our university and partnering organizations. Also, last year we finally were able to go on the global area as an incubator, and I think for the beginning we have quite good, achievements. So also what we are doing right now, we are focusing on 3 fields, main fields. It's education, events, and transformation, right? So for the education from this spring, unfortunately, of course, it's pandemic came, but we already implemented in the form of elective, we implemented this MIT course, which is called 24 Steps to Successful Company, Disciplined Entrepreneurship. Also, we are planning to open, probably with our partners, to open joint pre-acceleration program. And then we are preparing the documentation to turn our business incubator into the entrepreneurial center for our Northeastern Federal University. That will help to strengthen our innovative ecosystem in the Republic and maybe in the Far East at all, because As I mentioned before, university is a basic, is a first capstone thing where people, young people can gain their knowledge that they will use further in their life. Shortly about our business incubator, we are first student business incubator in Yakutia. Currently we have 24 residents. The number may be small, but we are focusing on the quality, not the quantity. We have many alumni startups. We create many working places for them, and we make many events, and many people attend them with a joy. The cases of our successful alumni startups have, for example, maybe third successful IT company in Yakutia, which is called Fantastic Entertainment. They are our alumni company, and also we have alumni in the field of education, energy, VR technologies, etc. Also, we think that preparing startups is not only the only thing that we can do. We also focus on giving students, young people, skills and knowledge and experience that they can use further in their professional field as they will go further, because we understand, yes, not every people can become entrepreneur, right? Maybe they don't want to do it, but they are free to do what they want, and when they have this expertise in the innovation field, in the technological field, they become really impressive on the job market. And all students and young people who you can see on this screen in the pictures, they were hired by very good companies and they work in the very good projects. Currently, we have many perspective projects in the field of education, biomed, medicine, robototechnics, design, animation, and many more. So thank you for your attention. I think I will join the conversation later too. And here are my contacts. So I'm open to what our dear colleagues would say, and we will look forward to collaborate with you as a university in Yakutia and with our partners in another parts of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisia. And our next speaker is one of the bright entrepreneurs, Sergey Protopopov. He's the founder and the CEO of the Buntar company. He will give a talk on how to improve the quality of life in the Arctic by creating a technology business and developing in the global market. Sergey? We cannot hear you, Sergey.
Now?
That's fine now.
Okay. Hello for all. Hello world. The Northern Forum.
Hello.
Nice to meet you guys who I see first time. My name is Sergey. And today I will speak about improving the quality of human life in Arctic, and how by technological business creation and that operates on the global market. Okay. Let's go. Sorry, it doesn't work. Actually now and all time the Arctic has been the cradle of many cultures and lifestyles for centuries. Yeah, do you agree? And today the task of our meeting today is seen as preserving the originality in Arctic, but at the same time to make the quality of life meet more modern requirements. Yeah, we we all like to live in Arctic, and but we want get more opportunities and get more comfortable life. Yep. But nowadays the choice is usually either just 2 points, or yes or not. How I can say it. Either you live in the Arctic and endure, or for example find some kind of motivation. I don't know, more safety for your family, for your kid maybe, or another motivation. Either you leave the Arctic and live somewhere else. Yeah, it's sad. But today we talk about Arctic with question of logistic and some transportable network and other questions, and this applies especially in if you want live in Arctic and want work in this territory, from this territory. This applies especially to young people. How we can change it? How we can change this point? Just two points. Maybe we can live in Arctic, and we can get more comfortable live in our life. How can we change it? In the aspect of transport and logistics, yes, because today's we talk about logistics and transport. My company, we delivered tens of thousands of shipments to 70 plus countries in the last year. Yes, it's much. And we created some technology business, and do it with the main headquarters in the Arctic. Yep, we have some staff, some employees from Yakutsk or more northern district of our republic. And now we absolutely understand people is our main resource for business, for all you do. Yep. And we as a business, we need people to enjoy living in the Arctic, because they work more effectively if they are happy. Okay, let's move on to specific proposals. I and my team will think about how we can, what will we say in this event, and how. And these points, okay? Let's move to special proposals. We think in Yakutia, for example, in Arctic, need more effectively, more bigger, small aircraft infrastructure, because if you live in Yakutia, you need sometimes traveling around Republic, or maybe you want to travel to another countries or another near states of Russian Federation, for example. Oh no. Okay, it's how. Oh, it's technical. Oh, sorry. Okay. Так, как мне включить-то? Штука. Почему не включается? Не меняется, да? Ай-яй-яй-яй.
У нас есть презентация на медиа?
Да, демонстрацию показываю, сижу, думаю, что вы видите. Так, sorry. Now? Oh, you see that now. Okay. Если демонстрацию включить, она ломается, кажется. Okay. Specific proposals. Small aircraft infrastructure for more comfortable life in Yakutia, for example, or in Arctic. And we think we can in our state, in our republic, for example, to make special conditions for the parking and chartering of small aircraft, for example. Maybe build small ports for helicopters and aircraft, and simplify the ability to own and store your ships, for example, if you have if some companies have this the ships or aircraft or helicopters in exchange for mandatory flight standards. Now we know very many people, very many companies who have some troubles with store they ships, they aircraft, and in Arctic we have a lot of trouble with transportation, with mobility of population, because if you live, for example, in Saskatchewan or in Tixi, if you want to go to I don't know, go to Yakutsk or to Kamchatka, you must pay a lot of money, like I don't know, you must work like 6 months, work hard for traveling around republic or near states. And we think it's create a lot of trouble and get low quality of life, because very many people who work in our company, for example, want traveling, want meet some maybe parents, maybe friends, and we think if we get some small aircraft infrastructure, modern small aircraft infrastructure in Yakutia, for example, we think it will it get high mobility for people, and of course more high quality of life. That's all, I think. This is my email. You can email me in any time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sergey.
Thank you.
Yes, already now we can see the fast-growing development of the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics. And in the times of this transhumanism and digitalization, we need to invest more in talented young people in IT sphere. So our next speaker is Vladislav Alexeyev, as Skolkovo School Tech research intern and student, petroleum engineer and data scientist from Yakutia. He will tell about how to apply AI application in mineral exploration.
Hello, dear participants of the session. My name is Vladislav, and it is an honor for me to participate in this significant forum. Today, I will discuss the use of artificial intelligence in the development of minerals. I want to tell about my background shortly. I am from Yakutsk. I have been learning at Skoltech for a year, and I'm the second year master student at Skoltech, Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technology. And today I will discuss artificial intelligence. So let's start about data science and AI. I'm sure that you have heard a lot about artificial intelligence. And before my speech starts, I should describe the main concept of AI. It is a bunch of models that can make decisions based on data like us, and there are several types of algorithms. The basic one is if-else constructions, and the more difficult is machine learning and deep learning. And I want to use Matryoshka concept to describe this model. You can see that artificial intelligence includes machine learning, and machine learning includes deep learning. And data science, it's about coding, statistics, and domain expertise. My domain expertise is petroleum engineering. So let's start with AI for mineral development, how to use it in our sector. And nowadays, these methods are essential for the development of minerals because the industry generates a lot of data and it is impossible to deal with it in real time, and how exactly can we use AI for it? Let's start with concrete cases. The first case, it is my master research work. I'm still working on it. This case is connected with the petroleum industry, and there is a core sample from an oil field, and the core sample, it is a cylindrical section of rocks from well, and my research is based on digital core concept. The idea is to make digital copy of the original sample to optimize flow measurements, synthetic flow measurements. And the input data for AI approach is computer tomography data. You can see in the left side of the slide. And we have mineral map for this sample, but only for 2D slice. And my research is connected with how to get 3D model with distribution of minerals. So we can train the deep learning model to identify minerals from CT data. We can identify minerals from CT data, and after that, we can construct the digital core mineral distribution in 3D case. The next case by Gazpromneft company, they found missed oil burning interval with machine learning algorithm. Petroleum fields are truly challenging objects, and many rocks horizons can potentially include oil and gas. And there are complicated relationship between rock physics properties. You can see here, for example, a model of horizons with properties, and also there is an enormous number of data. It is impossible to deal with it manually. And the Gazpromneft company success based on implementing machine learning models for old data. The third case, let's switch to non-petroleum industry case. Of course, there are good cases for ore minerals. I'm not expert here, so I will focus on remote access and field research. It is very crucial for northern conditions where there is difficult access to places. This also includes the requirements of the northern seas. And the first thing in our mind is precisely satellite images. The quality and detail is increasing year by year, and here machine learning models can make it easier for us to process this data. But today, the implementation of AI focuses more on the technical part. More and more companies are implementing technologies like smart drilling, smart wells, and intelligent monitoring systems based on artificial intelligence. So what should we do next? In the far north, we need to apply these methods. This requires the support of universities, research institutes, and startups. This responsibility lies not only with the government, but with the companies themselves. It is also crucial to pay attention on the environment and the risks connected with human health. We need to use these technologies against climate changing, reduce carbon dioxide emission into the atmosphere. And of course, it is a big responsibility for the entire industry. We are in a period of transformation now, and transformation technologies, transformation of energy sources, and we must survive this period without much pollution. It's all. Thank you for attention. You can contact with me with the following email. Thank you.
Thank you, Vladislav. Thanks. Due to limited time, we need to finalize our session soon. However, thanks to our speakers for the great and inspiring presentations. We will create the working group of the Northern Youth Forum where you're welcome to join. We will share our contacts, ideas, and projects for further cooperation. And I would like to give a word to our moderator and inspiring organizer, Savina Danilova, Head of Investment Activities Department of Yakutia Venture Company.
Thank you, Kate. I would like to thank to all our speakers. It was very interesting and useful. So right now I would like to underline some similarities we have as people who live in the North and in the Arctic. So we all have entrepreneurial spirit, and we are eager to speed up innovation development. And at the same time, we care about environment, because the North and the Arctic are very sensitive to all changes in the world, especially in rapid climate change. So, and that is why we need to support northern innovation systems, ecosystems with sustainable technologies. And we do hope that this session, the forum, will help us to establish cooperation between our countries, between our regions in the field of innovations, in the field of startups. And we would like to suggest the Northern Forum to make collaboration in innovations one of the priority areas of the activities of the Northern Forum. So thank you so much, and see you soon.
Can I say one word?
Yeah.
No, I thank you for organizing this. I think it's highly important, and it broadens the vision of all of us. So thank you for that. But on Tuesday, there's going to be a roundtable organized by the Northern Forum. And I think all of the speakers that have spoken would be extremely important to collaborate in some way. I know the agenda is quite full, but I hope you tune in to listen in, because I think the idea of creating such a venue to collaborate together is highly important, and the Northern Forum should be the venue for that. So I encourage you to show up on Tuesday, and I thank you for organizing this event. Very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Eva.
Yeah, good afternoon, dear all colleagues. And we as different, like on behalf of the students, really want to give to you our feedback and ask one question to you. So like the first of all, for me, that I'm mostly like humanitarian person. I've studied politics and political science in this sphere, but your presentations and your project, this was really interesting, because we now see this Arctic region not only from the political, geopolitical, or the our national vision, but we see how many projects and innovations like in the new space the project may work there. And it is really interesting, and I hope that we may find some maybe the points of the cooperation and consolidation in that. So that's the question I really want to ask you, like all of your presenters, that how the this. I know that the funding, the business, they're working with the three main the sphere. It is really important for the effective achievements of our goals. And how can we the students, the young generation may participate in maybe now by online, where they're winter or summer school, and how we can come up together with the maybe the solution, or inspire us, inspire you, but us. So that was the question.
Okay, thank you for the question.
Can I answer the question?
Yeah, sure. But soon we have to close this session, but we can still be here in the on the Zoom platform, and we will continue.
All right, thanks.
Answer. Thank you.
Thank you.